Hello everyone, welcome to my December general tarot reading for the collective. What is happening in 2025 is that we are finishing a 9-year cycle. We began in 2017 and we are closing it this year. So this year precisely is like a bridge between the completion of that 9-year cycle we are ending and the beginning of the new 9-year cycle that is starting the next year. 2026. Today's reading will be about that. I do 3 general readings each month. In the next Monday, the second reading for the month will be focused on love and relationships. What 9-year cycle are we closing in our relationship and what 9-year cycle are we opening in our relationships? And the third reading for the month, which will be in 2 weeks, also on Monday, will be about manifestation and abundance with the same focus as today. The 9-year cycle, the year we are finishing, and what it is to come in the following year. So let's start with the card that represents the 9-year cycle that we are closing this year. According to this oracle, is the cycle of stepping in our own worthiness, because we got the deserving oracle. This is a number 6, and 6 is a number of balance between ourselves and others. And it is an oracle of consciousness. So this is saying that we are transmuting and elevating our consciousness to open ourselves to manifest a fulfilling life related with our own worthiness. The results we desire and deserve are aligning for us. Therefore, we must reflect on our attitudes and expectations in order to accelerate the timeline toward those results we wish for, and to affirm in our energy that we are ready and willing to receive and to deserve. We have spent a long time desiring, longing for something to blossom, something to be fulfilled, and we know we deserve that blossoming. But sometimes the experiences in our lives begin to close our heart chakra, and we start to doubt our capacity, and we start to doubt our worthiness. So, since this card appeared upright, it means that we are closing a cycle in which, as humanity, as human beings, we have been learning to open our heart chakra to learn how to receive and how to deserve. This can cover many things because worthiness is not only about material things, it is also about experiences, quality of life, nourishing relationships, and ultimately love. So this is leading us to the King and the Queen of Cups that we got in reverse, clarifying this oracle. So what the tarot is saying here about this worthiness is that it was affected negatively due to our own traumas, our own difficult experiences throughout the last 9 years. What these 2 core cards, the King and the Queen of Cups, are saying, because they appeared reversed, is that in the last 9 years we suffered something, and this caused an energetic wound or not in our emotional body. So in order to not feel the pain of that energetic wound, we close ourselves off more and more over the years. And that not only closes us off from feeling pain, but also closes us off from letting love in and letting blessings in. The heart chakra, represented by the cup, is the one that opens a clear connection with the throat chakra, the third eye, and the crown chakra. And it is what allows divine energy, divine grace, spiritual energy, the energy of abundance, creativity, inspiration, to enter our body in a clear and transparent way. But when we have wounds, when we have traumatic experiences, when we go through difficult experiences, the vibration of the heart chakra becomes disturbed and it begins to close, and we start to distance ourselves from that divine connection. So what has happened over these past 9 years is that we have been releasing those layers, clearing those layers of everything that we have closed off, carried, stored, ignored, buried, because it was so difficult for us to experience in its rawness. And in the releasing of those trauma layers, we have been learning how to reach the mastery of the King and the Queen. This means that we've been learning to fully embody our emotions and feelings, that we have been learning to clear the stored energy of trauma in our emotional body. And ultimately, this mastery is about feeling the feelings and emotions with unconditional acceptance of our experiences and of our relationships as well as they come. without resistance to negative or heavy emotions or difficulties in our relationships, and also without attachment to positive or light emotions. It's like allowing the water of emotions to empty the cup, fill it again, and empty it again, and fill it again, and empty it again, in an open and constant cycle. Also, this queen represents our soul, and this king represents our spirit. The spirit is our eternal energy, which neither is born nor dies. The soul is the energy in this human body that is the bridge that links the physical body to the spirit to anchor and express divine energy in this material plane. So as we clear and transmute the emotional body and the heart chakra, we are clearing also the connection of our soul with our body and the connection of our soul with our spirit. So this means that we may increasingly become a more transparent, clearer channel without obstacles or disturbances to that connection to our higher self. Now let's continue with the Wands card. So the Ace of Wands is telling us that we are at the threshold of a new beginning. In the course of these 9 years, we had the opportunity to open a door toward a more direct connection with our inner fire, which is represented by the Wands. But that door was disrupted, or the process became slower or more difficult because it appeared reversed. This means that the energy was available, but the human experience was so difficult, so heavy during these last 9 years that in some way it postponed a little more the process of opening that door to begin a new cycle. And the King of Wands upright is saying that even though the door was delayed, we are leading the way thanks to the mastery of the King, because we got it upright. The mastery of the King of Wands has to do with our ability to manifest our spirit, our divine energy, in something we can call the creative passion and the inspired action. This means that this creative passion and this inspired action is like our inner fuel that motivates us to act and to create. It is when we find things that excite us and we can spend hours, days, months working on projects around it. And when we have the stamina to pursue that creative endeavor. What I feel about this king is that our energy has been connecting more and more with that inner fire, with that divine fire, to bring it forth, to bring it into being. This inner fire is what is leading us throughout this 9-year cycle despite the emotional body being affected. This king, by being upright, is telling me that every creative endeavor we pursue, anything that pushes us toward a goal that brings us joy, is carrying us forward this cycle. So let's move on to the cards representing the present year, 2025. We got the Oracle of Great Achievement in reverse. These cards, I believe, are connected to that Ace of Wands in reverse that I told you before. Great Achievements is an event card, so this is representing what is happening in the external world. When reversed, it indicates some difficulty around our personal or professional goals. Perhaps there is a delay in achieving or obtaining what we want and desire, or the results we expect and seek are simply not available at this moment. In some way, this generates frustration, especially with the effort we are putting into a specific project that seems not to advance, not to go anywhere. So the advice that this oracle brings is that it is a time to take a break, to step back a little from the energy of frustration in order to look at the situation with new eyes and evaluate whether the goal we set is truly one worth continuing to dedicate our attention and effort to. It may be necessary to make new plans, try new strategies, or for some people even choose a new direction, like a clean slate, so to speak. This seems very aligned with the reverse Ace of Wands I mentioned earlier, because this year has been extremely heavy, difficult. Some people have gone through divorces, some people have gone through severe physical illnesses that are very hard to bear. Some people experienced something that completely changed their lives. Some people had to say goodbye to loved ones or to say goodbye to an important dream. So this year is like being in a pressure cooker where our energy must evolve, and like the phoenix, our human experience must turn to ashes in order to reborn. And often, if not the 90% of the time, the way we manage to break free from superficial thinking, like believing life is only about making money, tending only to the needs of the physical body, buying stuff, etc., It's through a difficult situation. It's through challenges that we reach depth, that we begin to ask ourselves, what does it mean to know our spirit? What does it mean to work on our energy? What does it mean to aspire to something beyond? Deep questions come when something difficult arrives and shakes our life. Because when everything is working great, we don't ask deep questions. So the great achievement that does not materialize at a personal level is something different for each of us. For some, it may be expressed professionally. For others, it may be the relationship that did not happen, the decision that was not made, the goals that were planned but did not manifest. So let's move on to the tarot, clarifying this oracle of great achievement in reverse. So we got the Ace of Swords that came out in reverse also. So this Ace of Swords in particular represents inspiration in our mind in relation to the divine. So the great ideas, the great projects are being delayed, disrupted, or stalled here. And above all, this points to indecision. The fear of making some kind of important decision is causing that we close off the connection with our higher thought, so to speak, because of fear. And then we got the Judgment, a major arcana card, also in reverse. This is saying that in this last year, we were at the threshold of a juncture resembling the final judgment. The final judgment is when the energy of our higher selves, our eternal spirit, comes here and review this human experience and asks, well, how we are doing this year? Should we have already resolved or transmuted certain karmic knots? Or have we achieved certain experiences that brought us certain lessons? How are we progressing? But since this judgment appeared in reverse, it means for some people that something is missing, something remains unfinished, something still needs to be transmuted, healed, or learned in order to conclude and to close this 9-year cycle, to begin the next year with a lighter energy. For other people, this reverse judgment may symbolize that the review of their life brought up conclusions that were difficult or painful. It is when one realizes certain mistakes were made, when one sees that dreams were procrastinated, when one recognizes lost opportunities, when one realizes that we have been sabotaging some relationships. Looking back at life, there is a bittersweet feeling in that reflection. For others, this judgment may simply mean that they are still operating in their life in an unconscious way. They have gone through countless experiences, yet have not asked themselves what human experience truly is, what life is, what existence is. Instead, they remain in a very limited, flat field of experience, believing that life is only about working, earning money, pursuing materialistic goals, everything very superficial. There is no depth, no existential awareness. They simply live on autopilot. And the next card, the Six of Wands in reverse, is very much in line with the great achievement that did not manifest. Because the Six of Wands is about success. But as we got it in reverse, this means that we were right at the threshold. We were almost there. But success was postponed, maybe for the next cycle of 9 years. And it depends on each person. It depends on the relationship with ourselves and with our inner growth, how quickly that great achievement, how quickly that success will arrive. For others, this Six of Wands in reverse may also point to imbalance in our relationships. We may have lived experiences where we felt judged very harshly by others, or we have manifested relationships where the people around us were not conducive to expansion. Instead, they were overly critical or difficult, almost as if they wanted to throw stones at our small achievements. In other words, there was no expansion, no nourishment in that relationship. Another one card, the Nine of Wands in reverse. This speaks of exhaustion, of being worn out, of the wounded warrior. It is as if we say, well, this is the last battle, this is the last effort, this is the last sacrifice. Let's see if we can make it. And yet, nothing comes through. Since we are talking about wands, both the previous Six of Wands and this Nine of Wands means that something is happening in our lives where our energy is being drained. When we are not on a path that leads to expansion, our energy drains and becomes overexhausted. When we are aligned with expansion, we may experience physical fatigue, yes, but something within us remains lit, remains boiling. That inner fire does not go out because we are on a path of joy, of passion, of inspired action. For some people, the expansive path is their profession. For others, is their relationships, raising a family. For others, is through art, through spirituality. For each person, is something different. But this Nine of Wands in reverse is saying that this last year our energy has been drained because we are not making decisions aligned with what brings us joy, with what ignites our inner fire, with what nourishes that inner fire. So, as I was saying with the Judgment card, we need to review our life. And this judgment is not something to fear because we are alive. Fear it when you have already died and you arrive on the other side and review your life and say, oh, I lost the opportunity. I already died. Then you say, I have to postpone this lesson to the next life. Let us not be afraid to review our lives because we are alive and we can still do something to transform ourselves and to evolve. So, that Judgment card, that Great Achievement Oracle, and these two Wand cards, the 6 and the 9, all the cards are telling us that it is necessary to review our lives, to review our decisions, to review our relationships, and to review our relationship with ourselves and with our path. So let us not be overtaken by the automatic pilot, the routine of our daily life. Let us bring a broader, higher vision to our lives, one in which our life has meaning. And finally, a very good card, the Ten of Cups, upright. Look at this beauty. This means harmony, abundance, a balanced heart chakra. This abundance comes to us when we do all that we have been revealing in the previous cards. When we review our life, when we correct our course, when we open the door to deeper meaning. This harmony is the harmony in our home and is the direct connection with our dreams, our deepest desires. And since this card appeared last, it means that we have a window of opportunity to review our life, to correct course, and to reach this harmony in our home, in our life, in our relationships. So, in order to invite this harmony, let's ask ourselves what happened this year? What happened in the last 9 years? How are we now compared to how we were in 2017? How are we now in our relationships compared to how they were in 2017? So let's move on to the cards representing the next year. The next year opens with the Oracle of Peace, also in reverse. So something is happening in our energy since there are so many cards that are in reverse. This is a card of intention, and intention is how we focus our energy. So receiving this card in reverse is urging us to sincerely and honestly review how we are approaching ourselves and our lives. Because if we are mentally unbalanced, full of worry and anxiety, if we are emotionally unbalanced, intolerant, difficult, or complicated in our relationships, if we are experiencing more scarcity than abundance, if we need to sacrifice greatly for any little material achievement, then it means that our daily energy is out of balance. And when we are unbalanced inside, difficulties become larger and heavier. So in order to reclaim peace and restore balance, we must make ourselves a priority. We must prioritize our tranquility, our inner peace. We must prioritize creating gentle rhythms with ourselves and with our experience, through rest, through moving our energy with exercise, through regulating our energy with meditation, prayer, art, crafts, cooking, any activity that allows us to be in silence for a while. That silence brings inner peace, and the more we bring the vibration of inner peace, the more we begin to tune into it as an experience in the external. The same is true with chaos. The more we feed inner chaos, the more we begin to attract it as material experiences. What happens to us does not happen by chance. It happens as an effect of how our energy is vibrating. So this means that worry and inner conflict do not need to be lived with erratic, frantic energy, with drama and noise. Difficulties can also be navigated with calm, so we must reclaim our peace, reclaim our inner trust, return to inner balance, and bring back that sense of control over our inner waters, so that whatever is happening outside can also be neutralized. So this Oracle of Peace for the next year is telling us that whatever happens, whatever opens as a negative experience, as a difficult experience for us, it is necessary not to exaggerate it, to not give free rein to the drama. Simply move through it as evenly and with equanimity. Let's move on to the tarot. So we got the Three of Swords upright. This is why the Oracle of Peace in reverse appeared. For some people, the Three of Swords may represent betrayal or pain from a relationship that is ending. For others, it may be the pain of losing something important, whether a person or a significant opportunity. The point is that this pain comes from the Suit of Swords and not the Suit of Cups. So these pains arise through the mental judgments that we make about the experience we are living. So we need to be aware of our mental expectations around our life. Because as I mentioned earlier, one thing is to say, all right, this relationship ended. Let's move through it and we will recover. And another thing is to say, no, this always happens to me. Nobody loves me. Nobody will ever love me. That is falling into a deep pool of self-pity. So we must transmute this pain in a gentler way for us, not to wallow in this pain. Forgive, release, and close that loop. Then we got the Princess of Cups also in reverse. So this is related to our heart chakra. The Princess in reverse tells us that a new beginning tied to a very deep dream, a profound desire, or an opportunity for emotional fulfillment is being disrupted, postponed, or some news arrive that unsettle us, at least at the start of the coming year. The point is that our emotional center, the cup, is being thrown out of balance, perhaps because of that pain related to the Three of Swords. So that's why we got the Major Arcana Strength upright. This means that despite that Princess in reverse, and despite that Peace in reverse, and that Three of Swords, a part of us will be activated, the archetype of inner strength. Here you can see the image of a woman taming a lion. The lion represents our inner beast, the character that must be tamed, the trauma that must be healed, the suffering that must not swallow us. The lion also represents the situation itself, something powerful and difficult to master. But why is it a woman taming the lion and not a man? Because the strength required from us comes through our feminine energy polarity. You cannot fight a beast with violence, because you feed the beast. It is through the gentleness of feminine polarity that we soften this situation. So this means listening, caring, nurturing, mothering, doing what we will do with a crying baby. This is how we must navigate this difficult experience that opens for the coming year. We must mother ourselves as if we were infants. We must mother the situation as if it were a baby, and try to give unconditional love and acceptance to the situation, to the experience, and to ourselves. This means that we must give ourselves moments of unconditional care, silence the inner critic, silence the self-judgment that makes us feel guilty, and simply know that we are human beings under construction. Also, this means silence judgment of others, and know that others are also human beings under construction. And this also means that we need to silence the judgment of our experiences also. So instead of saying the worst has happened to me, or life is very hard, we must quiet those extreme, harsh, difficult judgments and try to carry the experience as gently as possible. That is the strength through the feminine aspect of this archetype. And last, we got the Seven of Cups upright. This card shows us that the cup which seemed closed at the beginning, with the princess in reverse, now transforms. The energy shifts and opens into 7 cups. But what happens with these 7 cups is that they represent too many options, too many possibilities. and therefore this card represents the need to refine our discernment. Seven of Cups means our energy is being scattered to many distractions, external voices pulling our attention in different directions. Parents, siblings, friends, colleagues, they all may suggest something, opinions, but we need to allow ourselves only to listen to our inner discernment, to avoid our energy being scattered. This is why this card arrives as an experience, because we need to learn how to refine our inner discernment. We need to learn to choose consciously where we place our attention, our focus, our energy, our time and effort. Discernment is not born from the mind, because the mind judges only from what it already knows, and therefore judges from fear or precaution. True discernment arises from the inner fire, from that spark that lights up when something resonates with our essence, or dims when something does not. So the Seven of Cups is an invitation to silence, contemplation, meditation, and self-evaluation. To pause and feel which option elevate my energy, ignite my passion, make me vibrate higher, and which options drain me, confuse me, or feel heavy. That subtle inner compass is the healthiest discernment we can cultivate. As the new year opens, the Seven of Cups reminds us, many doors will appear, but not all are meant for us. The task is to listen inwardly, to choose with clarity, and to walk only the paths that nourish our fire and expand our heart. So let's move on to the final advice with the Sacred Destiny Oracle. We got Voyage and Diligence Oracle. So let's begin with the card of Voyage. So get ready, because you are at the threshold of embarking on a new path, a new journey. This new journey may be an inner journey, or it may be a trip to a distant land. It may also be a project or an idea that is beginning to blossom. The point is to see yourself as a bold traveler, raising the sails and heading toward the unknown. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go with the decisions you are making? What is that you have always wanted to be? This is the moment to make it happen. So this is also related to the theme of discernment that I talk about with the Seven of Cups. So prepare yourself and keep an open mind and a clear vision of what you want to experience, so that you attract it to yourself as an experience. But also prepare to be open to the unexpected, because that is part of the excitement of being a traveler. Exploring the unknown, preparing for the unexpected, and enjoying the process. And remember that the journey itself is just as meaningful as reaching the final destination is. So as you can see in the illustration, it is a journey into the depths, into our unconscious parts, in order to heal them, thanks to the symbol of the well. And as you can see here, diligence, it is also a journey, but upward into higher realms, thanks to the symbol of the bird. So there are moments when we must throw ourselves into the unknown, take a step forward and take risks. There are moments in life when we must be patient, take small, careful and slow steps, knowing that both in moments of risk and in moments of slow progress, there is a benefit that we will gain in the future, and it will be worthwhile for us. So this diligence oracle means that it is time to be attentive, meticulous and persistent. We must use this moment to plan, to be proactive in the steps we want to take toward our future. We must be diligent and consistent with that planning and with each step we take as we move forward. By being consistent, diligent, meticulous and attentive, we will be able to reap important results in the years to come. So let us remember that the next year is the beginning of a new 9-year cycle. So both of these cards are very fitting. This is not a time to prioritize instant gratification, meaning short-term achievements and the investment of time and effort in short-term goals. Instead, this is the time to invest our time, energy, and resources in long-term goals and achievements that will give us results tenfold in the future. This is a time to be organized, to remove what overwhelms us, to eliminate distractions and wait. This is a time to clean, clear and release, and be very reflective, to refine our discernment, to choose wisely how, where, and with whom we invest our time, energy, and effort, so as not to continue feeding what drains us. So this is very much in line of what I see here with the Three of Swords, the Princess of Cups, because whatever you are losing or will lose, for example, a relationship, a person, an opportunity, or an experience, it is necessary to leave it behind because you are going to align with something greater, something deeper, here, with these wells, and something higher with these birds. Therefore, we must lighten the baggage to embark on this new journey for the next 9 years. We don't want to be dragging the things that did not work in the last 9 years. Relationships that did not work, opportunities, efforts, ideas, or projects in which we invested our energy and time and did not succeed. Close them, turn the page, and move forward, because both cards are asking us for a commitment to move forward with discernment. Moving forward with discernment means we are not going to advance recklessly, believing in illusions. It is simply about returning to our center and asking ourselves the honest, truly honest question: what will we invest our time in? What will we invest our resources in? What will we invest our effort in? Will we continue investing time and effort in a job that does not fulfill us? In a relationship that does not fulfill us? In a life that does not fulfill us? Or will we finally step in our personal power and invest time, effort, and energy in a more expansive path? So the diligence of this card is exactly that. Being very alert, consistent, and fully committed to how we are going to build our future, the next 9 years to come. So thank you very much for tuning in. We will see each other again in the next week on Monday for your general tarot reading on love and relationships. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Goodbye.